For 1/3 of all people seeking help for mental health problems, all of the therapies offered to them are still inadequate. They don't work. It is very clear that we are missing out on not merely some detail, but on something quite fundamental in the way we try to bring about a positive change in the lives of those who need it. Now, what could this be? What I will share with you today is a perspective on this problem born out of scientific research of psychedelic drugs and music. More and more studies are showing that in the right environment, with the right care, these compounds can be safe and effective to treat some very debilitating conditions. And interestingly, very often in those individuals who no other therapy worked so far. Now, as a neuroscientist, I started my research in this field because I think it holds important clues to how a better future in mental health care may look like. And this is not because it suggests a different type of medication, but mainly because it suggests a different paradigm of therapy, a different view on what therapeutic change means and how it can be brought about. Now, let me illustrate to you how a typical therapeutic session with a psychedelic drug is usually performed. And it will then become quickly clear to you what I mean with a different paradigm of therapy. Therapeutic sessions with psychedelic drugs take place in a comfortable, non-clinical environment. Therapeutic sessions are supported. The individuals receive support from trained psychotherapists before, during, and after the sessions. But during the sessions themselves, individuals are encouraged not to talk too much, but to focus their attention inwards instead, often with the aid of an eye mask. And then for the 4 to 8 hours that follow, they listen to music. Now compare this with the status quo. Either medication to be taken every day, or many hours of psychotherapy. This finding that with a single dose, within a few hours, a therapeutic response can be both immediate and long-lasting is simply unheard of in any form of therapy currently available. And it really begs the key question: what is it that happens inside the brains and the minds of these people undergoing these experiences that changes them? I will guide you through a framework addressing this question. And the first thing to understand is that our brains have evolved to do mainly one thing: to give meaning to our experience of the world. Through our whole life, our brains continuously acquire new experiences, and those that are important are remembered and organized into networks of neurons. And those networks of neurons, they very much function like a roadmap. A roadmap that determines how information is processed and what it means. And the main purpose of this inner roadmap for us is to help us navigate, to help us thrive in this very complex and always changing world we live in. But what if the inner roadmap, what if our life's experiences give birth to an inner roadmap that does not serve this goal really well? For example, we may have been neglected love by our parents while growing up, making us feel unworthy to be loved as an adult. Or we may have experienced war, and every time we hear a helicopter, our minds become convinced to be in the middle of the battlefield again. The habits of our minds, the storylines, it keeps playing on repeat. When they resist to be changed, they can become destructive. An emerging view on how psychedelic drugs work in the brain is that they temporarily dissolve this inner roadmap. Information that usually flows via the central junctions within the brain can now suddenly travel more freely between different parts of the brain. Now, to illustrate the therapeutic significance of this, let me use a simple analogy. Think of the brain as a hill covered in snow. And think of the information in the brain as sledges going down from this hill. The more sledges go down this hill, the more a central trail will appear in the snow. Every time a new sledge goes down, almost like a magnet, would it be attracted to this pre-existing trail. Now, this is most reasonable, and it may be even scary to go into a different direction. Now, think of psychedelics as temporarily flattening the snow of this hill, okay, so that the trails that were created by these sledges temporarily disappear. Suddenly, the sledges can go down more easily into new directions, exploring new landscapes, creating new pathways. Now, by temporarily dissolving this inner roadmap that the mind normally operates on, Psychedelics bring the mind into a more flexible state, making it more easy to discover or rediscover different aspects of oneself. Very interestingly, this is exactly what the famous psychotherapist Carl Rogers formulated to be the basis for any therapeutic change. He said the following: to perceive a new aspect of oneself is the first step towards changing the concept of oneself. The outstanding question that remains, however, is, now you stand on the top of that hill, now the usual trails have disappeared, what are the new directions to go to discover those new aspects of oneself, to craft out those new paths that are better and healthier? Now, this highly flexible state of mind also means that the mind is more easily influenced by the stimuli it is exposed to. And this is the main reason why the environment in which those drugs are taken have a very strong influence on the types of experiences that people will have with it. And this is why we did our best in our study not to have the therapy room stay in its original condition. Because under the influence of a psychedelic drug, this room would truly feel like a torture chamber. Any sensation can take a whole new world of meaning. And for that reason, we redesigned the room. Not only to make people feel more comfortable and more pleasant, but also to support those therapeutic experiences. To make people feel safe enough to turn their attention inwards completely. Now, this is also the primary reason why music is being played. For many hours during those sessions, individuals listen to a carefully designed music playlist. And music is considered to be a very important therapeutic component. But only till recently do we have the first studies to help us better understand what the therapeutic function is of music in facilitating those changes. And this has been the core focus of my work over the last few years. In one of our first studies, we showed that under the influence of psychedelic drug LSD, emotions experienced in music are much stronger. And when we studied the brain listening to music under the influence, we found changes in the brain network associated with attributing meaning and emotion to sound. People also report that the images they see with their eyes closed are strongly influenced by the music. Very vivid and not uncommonly very personal images are described. And when we studied the brain mechanisms underlying this effect, what we discovered was that in the combination of LSD and music, there was an increased amount of information flowing from a region specialized in personal memories towards the visual cortex. The more information was flowing in that direction, from this region here displayed in blue, the parahippocampus, the more vivid and the more personal the images became. Now, in our therapeutic work, I designed a 6-hour-long music playlist. And by studying people's experiences with this music, what we discovered was that not only are these emotions and these images much stronger, they're also incredibly personal. Very frequently, the music was described as if it guided them on a personal journey, as if it transported them and guided them into new directions, into new landscapes. Now, standing on the top of that hill, it is now the music that functions like a new roadmap, suggesting not only the new routes into those new aspects of oneself can be discovered, but also experienced in great depth. One participant named Michael called this experience with music the most beautiful experience of his entire life. This guy was depressed for 18 years. He had this experience more than a year ago, and he's free from depression ever since. And he also started to compose music himself. Another participant commented on one particular piece of music and said the following: "The song made me cry a lot. It was very sad and very beautiful. Crying during this song felt like an emotional release, the release of sadness and bad feelings towards myself. It made me think of all the struggles I had to go through in my life, being depressed. And at the end of this song, I felt cleansed and better, and I felt a compassion towards myself." Now, the knowledge that music can bring about these strong experiences brings with it a huge responsibility. But we're now starting to distill some key ingredients within the music experience that are associated with these therapeutic changes. And this is helping us to develop better ways music can be used during sessions. One of those ingredients we called resonance. The more the music was reflective of the emotions within the individual, the stronger the therapeutic response was. On the other hand, when the music was out of sync, when it was dissonant with the individual's experience, the opposite occurred. And we believe that this process of resonance helps to engage the individual more deeply with the personal and the therapeutic aspects of this journey. Another ingredient we found we called openness. And with this we mean an attitude of openness on behalf of the listener to the influence of the music. Like in this example, no matter how painful or how challenging some of these experiences may be, the more the individual was open to undergo these experiences, the stronger the therapeutic response was. Now in the beginning I said that I believe that this paradigm of therapy holds important clues to how a better future of mental health care may look like. I said that something quite fundamental is currently missing. Comparing this paradigm with other therapies currently out there, there's one element that makes the most important difference. And this is the centrality of experience. Because the roadmaps of our minds are constructed from the experiences we undergo in our lives, the most effective way, and maybe even the only way to change this roadmap, is by utilizing experience, by working right at the core where learning happens. These experiences that bring about therapeutic change, they are not something merely mental, they're not just a change of thought, but they're often highly emotional, fully embodied, and deeply personally meaningful. In one recent study, 80% of all the participants who underwent this experience said that the experience was amongst the most personally meaningful experiences of their entire life, sometimes even more meaningful than the birth of their own child or their own marriage. Now this future of mental health care, where experience is the basis for therapeutic change, is therefore an invitation to those who are masters of experience. Not only the psychotherapists, but also the artists, the design artists, the musicians, the architects, and so on. All of this expertise can be brought together in a unified framework that helps to provide truly life-changing experiences to people. Experiences that shift the perspectives that people have on themselves and on their own lives to such an extent that the way they live their lives has radically changed. And what this therapeutic change means can be beautifully summarized by a Japanese art form called kintsugi. And this is the art of repairing broken porcelain. When a piece of porcelain is broken, it is not thrown away, but instead it is repaired with a golden lacquer. The broken parts are not separated, but they are reunited. And the scars of separation, they are not hidden or covered up, but they are celebrated as an authentic part of its identity and a source of new strength and beauty. Now, I call this future of mental health care the psychedelic future of mental health care because the word psychedelic means to unveil, to make visible the mind. In the same way as a medical surgeon has a medical toolkit available with medical technologies to access and heal the body, so has the future of mental health care a toolkit of psychedelic technologies available to access and heal the mind. Thank you.